Most people lose power long before they realize it, and the moment it happens is usually invisible. It is the moment they start defending themselves. The moment you explain, justify, or rush to correct how others see you, you silently step into their frame and surrender control. You may feel relieved for a second, but psychologically you have already lost ground, because power does not belong to the one who speaks the most. It belongs to the one who controls the meaning of the situation. This is something Machiavelli understood deeply centuries ago, and it is something most people still ignore today. Defending yourself feels natural because the ego hates being misunderstood. The mind associates silence with weakness and explanation with safety, but in reality the opposite is often true. When you defend yourself, you accept the accusation as valid enough to deserve a response. You accept the other person as a judge, and once you accept that role assignment, the balance shifts. You are no longer leading the interaction, you are reacting to it. This is how power quietly moves away from you. Silence, on the other hand, does not mean you agree. It means you refuse the frame. Silence creates psychological pressure because it removes certainty. The human mind hates uncertainty. It needs closure. When you remain calm and silent while being questioned, accused, or challenged, the other person begins to fill the gap themselves. They start explaining, they start justifying, they start revealing their intentions, fears, and limits, and without saying a word, you gain information and leverage. Most people believe respect comes from being understood, but real respect often comes from being unshakable. When you do not rush to defend yourself, you project inner stability. You signal that your value does not depend on approval. This unsettles people who are used to emotional reactions and verbal sparring. They expect resistance. They expect explanation. When they do not get it, they lose rhythm. And whoever controls rhythm controls the interaction. Machiavelli never advised silence for moral reasons. He advised it for strategic ones. He understood that power is not about honesty or innocence, but about perception and timing. Explaining too much makes you predictable. Predictability makes you manageable, and manageability makes you weak. Every word you offer can be used against you, especially when spoken from a defensive position. There is a difference between conscious silence and passive silence. Passive silence comes from fear. Conscious silence comes from choice. Conscious silence is a weapon. It is the ability to pause while others rush. It is the discipline to let accusations float without grabbing them. It is knowing that not every battle deserves your energy, and that some battles are won by never entering them at all. People who defend themselves too often train others how to treat them. They teach people that pressure works, that accusations get attention, that disrespect will be rewarded with explanations over time. This creates a pattern where others feel entitled to question them. Meanwhile, the person who rarely defends themselves becomes difficult to manipulate because there is no predictable emotional response to exploit. This does not mean you should never speak. It means you should speak only when you choose, not when you are pushed. When you do speak, it should be from authority, not urgency, from clarity, not emotion, from framing, not justification. The strongest statements are not explanations. They are boundaries, decisions, observations, delivered without heat. Think about the people you instinctively respect. They are rarely the loudest. They are rarely the most offensive. They move slowly. They choose words carefully, and they are comfortable with silence. That comfort alone creates dominance, because silence scares those who rely on noise to feel important. In social situations, work environments, and leadership roles, silence separates the reactive from the powerful. When you refuse to explain yourself immediately, you give yourself time to observe. You notice who escalates, who retreats, who overplays their hand. This information is priceless. It tells you who is acting from insecurity and who is acting from strategy. The urge to defend yourself usually comes from the need to be liked, the need to be right, the need to be seen as good. But power does not grow from need. It grows from independence. When you let go of the need to correct every misconception, you free yourself from emotional slavery. You no longer chase validation. You choose your ground. Silence also protects your energy. Every unnecessary explanation drains mental resources that could be used for planning, Positioning and execution. Strong individuals conserve energy. They do not waste it on endless clarifications. They understand that time, attention, and words are assets, not obligations. If this idea feels uncomfortable, that is a sign it touches a habit. Most people have been conditioned to equate silence with guilt, but guilt only exists when you accept the accusation. Silence says, I do not recognize your authority to judge me, and that message is louder than any defense. As you practice this, you will notice a shift. Conversations slow down. People choose their words more carefully around you. Some will respect you more. Some will feel threatened. Both reactions confirm that the balance has changed. Power always rearranges relationships. Remember, you are not required to clarify every story told about you. You are not required to defend every version of yourself that exists in someone else's mind. Your job is not to manage perceptions, but to maintain position. When you hold position consistently, perceptions follow on their own. The moment you stop defending yourself, you stop leaking power. You stop feeding frames that were never yours. You begin to operate from a place of quiet authority where words are optional and presence does the work. If this message resonates, it is because you have felt the cost of explaining too much. And if you want to learn how to strengthen presence, sharpen psychological control, and move through life without unnecessary resistance, stay with this channel. Because what comes next is not motivation. It is strategy applied to real situations where power actually matters.